Tonight's video is going to focus on Newton's three laws. And in order to streamline it a little bit, we're going to put all of them on one note sheet so we can compare and contrast them a lot easier. So the first thing I need you to do is take out your gold unit organizer, and in slot 4, you're going to write Newton's three laws, notes. And as usual, note sheets are no score. So you were given a note sheet that looks like this. It's labeled Newton's three laws of motion, and it's going to be number 4 in your binder. Now, Isaac Newton is known mostly for the apple that fell on his head when he discovered gravity, but he's also really well known for his three laws of motion. Newton's first law is also known as the law of inertia. And the definition is that a body in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. If we really wanted to be specific, a body in motion will stay in motion at a constant velocity. So we have that speed aspect and direction. So a body in motion tends to stay in motion at a constant velocity unless acted upon by an outside force. The second part of that definition is that a body at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. Now, everyday examples, I'm not going to go through with you. What you're going to do is you're going to watch the YouTube video, whose link is right after this one on the class website, and you're going to fill in everyday examples from the Inspire video. Newton's second law explains that a force will make an object change its motion. And there's some math involved in Newton's second law. So of course there's going to be a formula triangle. So we're going to draw on our triangle with our 3 sections. And force goes on top with M, which stands for mass, and A, which stands for acceleration. So these are pretty interchangeable, but sometimes it's easier just to copy down what I have on the screen. Newton's second law says that force and acceleration have a direct relationship. This means that if force increases, so does acceleration. But if the applied force decreases or goes down, the acceleration will also go down. So they're doing the same thing. Mass and acceleration, on the other hand, have an indirect relationship. That means that if mass goes up, the acceleration of the object will go down. And the reverse is true, that if the mass of the object decreases, the acceleration will increase if the same amount of force is applied. The third law we're going to focus on is that the Newton's third law explains that forces come in pairs. And that for every action, there is an equal, an opposite, reaction. So just as a reminder, in order to get the everyday examples for the 3 Newton's laws, you need to watch the second YouTube video listed on the class website under the link for the video you're watching now. So there are some key concepts we need to keep in mind. The first is inertia, because Newton's first law is the law of inertia. And inertia is an object's resistance to the change in motion, and it's based on an object's mass. So the more mass an object has, the more inertia it has, so the more it'll resist changes in motion. The second thing we need to remember is from our first unit, which is acceleration, which is the change in motion of an object. This comes into play with Newton's second law, where if we apply force, it'll change the motion or give the object acceleration. The third key concept we need to keep in mind is about unbalanced forces. So when one force is bigger than another, forces are not balanced. this always causes a change in motion. So this reacts to Newton's second law. We need to remember also that a force is a push or a pull that will cause that change in motion. So this is connected to unbalanced forces, which is connected to acceleration. And the last thing we need to remember is that mass is the amount of matter in an object. And we're going to start using kilograms as our unit of measurement. Now don't forget to watch the second YouTube video that's listed under this video on the class website in order to fill in your everyday examples.